Hello there. This is a new Abyssal Descent update that has released this month. Do not mind the fact that it has been more than 7 months since the last Abyssal Descent update. Just haven't had a ton of ideas that were good for an update at the moment, and also had some issues with compiling this update for release. But yeah, there's a new update. It might be one of the biggest Abyssal Descent updates ever. So first, let's get into the features, and then I'll do some of the texture changes and bug fixes later on. Probably one of the biggest ones is the new underground biome in the deep abyss. So you can see right now we're at negative 216 in the abyss. This dimension goes very deep. So there's a rare and usually large biome you can find that is not the core depths. It is called the deep light. It's actually right in front of me. So this is the brand new biome. It's basically a kind of counterpart to the core depths. This biome has a lot of depth corruption in it, which is it's kind of similar to Skulk actually. And there's like holes in the ground where monsters will emerge from if you steal the loot in this biome. So the deep light is kind of like the light version of the corruption. None of the depth corruption blocks can be found here. It's instead all replaced by this abyssal moss, which previously the abyssal moss blocks and the depth flowers, they were found within the core depths biome. They no longer generate there at all. And also there's new blocks such as carpets, some sprouts, and some hanging moss all throughout the biome. So you see this is a pretty bright biome, very crazy looking and purple, I guess. But you can harvest all these blocks and bone meal them with. You can harvest most of them with shears or with a hoe, and then you could bone meal the moss blocks to make more patches, or the hanging moss to grow more hanging moss off of it. Another one of the new features you can find in this update is Doler. This is a stone version of the depth corruption that can be found in the core depths. You could actually craft it with a block of depth corruption and a sparklight to get $1 rock. It's mostly a decorative material, but it has a few uses I'll get to in a second. Uh, and it can be found in small veins in the deep light. It's supposed to be kind of like depth corruption that tried to seep into the biome, but the moss failed. It failed because of the moss, and it got converted into Doler rock, and it's now safe to use. It won't corrupt anything like the depth corruption normally will. Another one of the new things with this update is the Deep Abyss Stronghold has been completely revamped. Before, it was mostly just tiny, or not tiny, but like open rooms that just connect together. It's like basically boxes on boxes. There's like no flavor to it at all. So now it actually looks like a stronghold. And as you can see, there's also some new contraptions in here and new blocks as well. We'll get to these in a second. But you can see there's cut Doler rock on the floor everywhere, and a bit of chiseled. And there's a new block here that you could create with Doler rock and redstone and stuff, called the Staring Idol. This is it right here. You can see they got little faces on the side, and they're emitting redstone particles. So these emit a redstone signal based on how close an entity is to them. So like right here, this is a puzzle room. There's a chest behind here. So if you don't want to break the blocks, then you will have to go and figure out where to stand in the room to where none of them will detect you. And actually, spoiler, it's this corner will stop the piston from being powered, and you'll be able to get the chest. And in order to get it, just press the button, and now you can get it. There's block of diamonds, Vivianite tools, and blocks of fuegite. Also, this lava's not guaranteed. I think it just spawned here by accident. So technically in this room you could just open the chest from right there without having to do puzzle. But yeah, that's basically that room, and then there's this right here. This is technically another room, this one little hallway. It's got a staring idol in it with a arcane lamp above it, so it's like just showing that it could emit a redstone signal. Like for example, if I go away from it, you'll see it stops flashing, and I come towards it, it starts flashing. I should also mention the staring idol. It powers based on how close the player is, so uh six, it's 15 blocks away from the idol. So for example, if I'm standing right here, you can see in the block states it's got a power level 15. If I were to go over to here and press F3, it's got a power of 8 because I'm farther away from it. So, let's get on to some of the other new rooms. Like this room right here, it's mostly just a decorative room, but it's basically a jail cell with a chest in it. It's actually a pretty good chest. There's nothing super unique about it. It's mainly just to give variety to the stronghold, and it's also not a very safe jail. You could just escape by pressing that button right there. So yeah, and most the rooms that were in the original stronghold are still here. Like for example, this room has a chest in the middle. This existed in the Deep Abyss stronghold previously. The hallways are just a bit different, and there's also like more hallways that don't have rooms connected to them, like right here. And there's actually this room right here, which can generate a chest in right there. So that's pretty cool. And like right here, this is the same room as over there, but it's got the abyssal moss planter in it. I should also mention that like right here, this is the starting staircase room, kind of like what normal strongholds have. This staircase right here leads like 1 to 200 blocks away from the structure upwards. And this is the chest that spawns a mill that you always get an Esperite upgrade out of. Which actually, this chest is now much better than normal. So like you can see, you get the Esperite upgrade still, but you can see I got a titanium ingot, 2 blocks of diamond, 2 specialty pickaxes, and specialty leggings. So there's much less junk loot in here and higher chances to get better loot in here, along with the very rare chance to get Esperite scrap like how it was previously. So one of the final things that could be found in the Deep Abyss Stronghold is this right here. This is a surfacing altar. It's actually a pretty useful block, in my opinion, for especially in the Abyss. So you can actually craft it with titanium, Doler, abyssal turf, some of that stuff, and you can find it in here. You usually get like maybe 1 to 2 of these per structure. So if you right click on it, it'll bring up this menu that asks you if you want to teleport to the surface. If I click no, it just boots me out of the menu. But you can see I'm negative 221 right now on the Y height. So if I click this, I've now been sent to the surface of the abyss, which is Y71 at this spot. So this block will teleport you exactly, it'll teleport you to exactly the same height, or the same block, but at the topmost height of the world in that position. So this even works with player placed blocks. So you could use this as an elevator technically. So that's pretty much all of the stuff in the Deep Abyss Stronghold except for this right here, which I'll talk about right now. So Vivianite ingots. These have existed in the mod for quite a while. They've been mostly useless, other than crafting gear that has like about the same durability as like between wood and gold. It's not good at all. The only use for it really was to use the blocks of Vivianite to duplicate titanium upgrades. But now, if you get a Vivianite ingot, you could craft it into nuggets. These Vivianite nuggets allow you to make chains, lanterns, buttons, and fligite lamps. So, real quick, these Vivianite chains, these are functionally the same as normal chains. They're just green. And the Vivianite lanterns are pretty much the same as normal lanterns, except they got a special model. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just decorative blocks, and the button's a little bit more useful because it stays pressed for 2 seconds instead of 1.5 seconds like the other buttons. And finally, Fligite lamp, which you can craft with Vivianite ingots and a block of Fligite. This is just a decorative, like, caged version of the Fuegite blocks. It also allows the Deep Abyss Stronghold to have many of these placed around, without them being like actual blocks of flagite. And if you play the mod, you know that's a fuel source, and the deepest stronghold has a ton of fuel in it because it used to just use these for light. So that's most of the main features in the mod. So let's get on to some of the smaller changes, which first of all, some people are happy about this. Flagite shards and mantlestone flagite ore have gotten a gigantic redesign. It looked like literal hot garbage before. So I'm glad that I made this change because now it looks a whole lot better for my most downloaded mod ever. So another few of the changes, abyssal soil and abyssal turf, they now look more like dirt underneath. Because before it was kind of like really dull and didn't look that good. But now, like I said, it just looks more like dirt. It's pretty neat. It's a pretty needed change if you ask me. And one of the final retextures, that flower, it has gotten just a very slight retexture. Its stem used to be the same color as abyssal turf, but it's now changed to match abyssal moss since that's where it generates is in the deep light biome. One of the very last changes I want to talk about has to do with the ruined fortress, the above one of the above ground structures found in the abyss. So this place can now technically be slightly smaller than before, so it may cut off early, and also just a tiny little change. All lanterns and chains in here are now Vivianite lanterns and chains to match up with the Deep Abyss Stronghold. So yeah, that's pretty much all for this Abyssal Descent update. Like I said, it's one of the biggest updates ever, mostly because there's a lot of changes and fixes in the background that I won't necessarily go over here. You could see them on the patch notes if you want to. So, that's pretty much it. See ya very soon, actually, for a big mod next month.